A new study examining the representation of Arabs in the Israeli media paints a grim picture of a minority nearly excluded from sight, at least when it comes to on-air screen time. The study, the first in what will become a monthly index, reveals that though they make up roughly 20% of Israel's population, Arabs only appear on television screens here around 2% of the time. Critics say the reason is that decision makers believe Jewish viewers do not want to see Arabs on the screen and would switch the channel if they do. So, what does this tell us about the local media scene? Let's take a look at Uri Shapir's i24 News correspondent report. Break it down from there.
Around 20% of Israel's population is Arab, but only 2 to 3% are represented in media. This according to new research by Sikui organization in the 7th Eye magazine. According to the report, around a third of the Arabs interviewed in the media are lawmakers. Comparing the different media outlets, it turns out that only 2.9% of those interviewed by the Israeli Broadcasting Authority are Arabs. At Galei Tzahal, the military radio station and one of the most popular media outlets in Israel, the numbers are much lower, comprising only 1.8% of the total interviewees. On the top 10 shows on the list in which Arabs are interviewed, 5 of them are radio shows. Another interesting figure shows that out of an average of 3,000 interviewees for media outlets, only 5 to 6 of them are Arabs who are experts in their field, chosen for their professional skills and not because of their ethnicity. This report is the first of a series which will examine the monthly representation of Arabs in the Israeli media.
Joining us on the phone first from Jerusalem, I believe, is Parliament member of the Joint Arab Party, Aida Tuma Suleiman. Aida, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I want to thank you for joining us. When it comes to that report that came out a couple of days ago, and we constantly say that if there's any chance of coexistence, then, it starts with education and it starts also with representation. But when we tried to have actually several Arab Israeli journalists in the studio this morning, they said no. Explain to me how we got to this point. Can we only blame Israeli media and who they pick? Or is this somewhat of a two-way street, so to speak, that the both sides are so, I would say, suspicious of one another, that also the representation does not appear on Israeli media because Arab citizens don't want to come on?
Well, I don't think that, again, we can blame the Arabs for such a situation.
I'm not saying, I'm saying it takes two to tango sometimes.
It takes two to tango if there was an intention in the beginning to start a tango. What I'm claiming here is that, for my regret, the media in Israel has been, for a long time now, very one-sided. It's not even trying to do its best in many times to bring Arab voices into the media. Most of the cases, even when the Arab are in the media, it's more as in a negative way, more than a positive way. Meaning, have you ever seen anybody trying to interview an Arab as an expert in one issue that is not relating only to Arabs, but to general public in Israel? I've been working on violence, gender-based violence, for more than 23 years. My name is well known in the world for that work that I'm doing. I haven't been interviewed even once in Israeli media as an expert, right, when it is not relating to Arab women. So actually, I think it's part of it, kind of a policy. Part of it is lack of awareness, right, to how we bring the change, because there has to be a decision made that we are trying to change the situation. We are bringing more Arabs, not only as reporters, not only as those who are making the news, because even when we are talking about making the news, most of the media people, Arab media people who are working, are again working on issues related to Arabs.
Right. No, and a very good explanation as such with us in studio on this issue as well is Oren Persico, journalist for media watchdog website, The Seventh Eye, a very important website that actually monitors Israeli media. And what do you say this stems for actually when we're looking at the Israeli media over the course of the last, has this always been the case, or is this something, it's always been the case?
Yes, these results are very similar to results of previous surveys, studies conducted 5 and 10 years ago, around 2%, 2.5% of representation in the Israeli media. But one thing I should say is that we examined not only the number of times that Arab interviewees were invited to studios, but also all the times that they were interviewed on the street, even if they gave just a short 5-second sync. And when you look at that, and you look at the main news broadcasts in Israeli prime time, you start to think to yourself, it's not just who is the expert on this subject or that subject. It's about who the editors think, or where the editors send their journalists. I mean, the Arab society in Israel has a lot of problems. Educational, transportation, crime. We don't see stories about that. If we would have seen stories about what's going on in the Arab society, in Arab villages and Arab cities, we would see more Arab citizens just speaking on our TV. But we don't see that.
No, that's exactly it. Now, one of the people from the group that conducted the study, Ranuk Natur, with us on the phone as well, joining us. I'm sorry, from where?
Good morning, Yael.
Good morning. I want to thank you for being with us on the phone. I mean, one of the studies, if you heard what was said in the studio in this respect, when it comes to the Arab society, the lack of representation, in terms of just trying to change that from within the Arab community, is the representation, or how did we get to this point? Is what I'm trying to ask you.
Well, that connects, of course, of the reasons why the situation is so, and I totally agree with the MPI Datuma that it is not a problem within the society, the Arabic society as such. Of course, in our research on the issue in Sikui, we also examine the obstacles of getting Arabs interviewed in the mainstream media, and there is some minor obstacles in the society, like the distance from Tel Aviv and the distance from Jerusalem, but they are really minor. We believe that the problem.
And sadly, I know. I mean. And Ranuk, I feel horrible that I have to stop this because it's all the time that we have. I want to thank you. Now the news.